So I study science. But the idea of study science is a long-standing idea. So it's traced at least back to the mid of last century. So there's a range of scholars in this area. For example, one of the greatest sociology, Robert K. Merton, thinking about the massive effect, also role models. So another sociology, Harold Zuckman, thinking about scientific elites. Derek, the Solar Prize, also a sociologist, physicist, an information scientist, thinking about cumulative advantage, invisible college, power law. Also Thomas Kuhn, another sociologist, thinking about paradigm shift. At that age, they didn't have the luxury to have that we have today. So we can also see some new opportunities for social science studies in the past few years due to convergence of three forces. So the first, there's the increasing availability of large-scale data. So the second is there's rapid development of AI and computer science tools that offer powerful toolkits and predictive analysis framework. The third is there is the emergence of new branches of science that reveal new insights into the science of the society. So my research is directly built upon all these new advances. Study science and society. There are three interconnected pillars in my study. The first, I'm interested in AI for science. How can we use AI to better advance scientific research? The second is AI help us to do better research, then we produce a lot of research. How can we translate this research into real-world impact through science-society interactions? The third is I'm interested in the workforce that contribute to scientific research, at the same time education that train the future generation of scientists. Okay, in the next few slides, I'll unpack these three interconnected pillars in a little bit of detail. Okay, so AI is a very powerful tool that helps us to do research. It's a general purpose technology, and the AI system has the potential to reshape almost every line of work in the future. So in the first pillar, I'm studying AI for science. It's basically trying to quantify the use and benefit of AI in research. So we have just published a paper in Nature Human Behavior last month. So we hypothesized, follow previous literature, we hypothesized that AI can bring benefit to science through at least two aspects. First, for the diffusion of innovation literature, we hypothesized that AI can directly benefit for research. As we think about AI as a general purpose technology, is a tool, it can diffuse across different disciplines. The second is for the literature on the future of work, we hypothesize that AI can at least perform some research tasks in different research domains. The third is we also hypothesize that so could be some heterogeneities across disciplines and demographic groups. Consider the composition of different research disciplines is also different. So we test these hypotheses using large-scale data sets, combining with computational technology like natural language processing tools. So our data sets contains 75 million papers as well as 7 million patents. So based on these data, we develop our original computational approaches. So on the left side, we show that the AI n-gram framework can quantify the direct use of AI across the science. On the right side, we develop an AI capability field task framework to quantify the potential AI benefit. Okay. Then after quantify the direct use of AI, we can see on the figure that some AI technologies that just surged in the past few years is not only in surge in the AI research, but also used across many disciplines, for example, in biology, in chemistry. So the AI is penetrating into many different disciplines. So there's a huge surge of 2015. Then what's the benefit of using AI technologies? So on one side, we quantify the citation impact. So we found that papers using AI actually associated with a high citation impact. So as proxied by they are likely to be hit papers, they are also receive disproportionately more citations from outside the field, sort of like broad impact outside of their discipline. This is one type of benefit. The paper that use AI has a citation premium. The second is, so AI can benefit science. Then are we well prepared in education to train the next generation of scientists? So we quantify the level of education using another large-scale database called Open Syllabus Project. So we found that there is, except for a few disciplines, computer science, mathematics, there is a lack of correlation between the AI benefit and the AI education. That means there is a misalignment between AI use and AI education in the current university curricula. So if not training the future generation of scientists, then how do we gain AI expertise for our research, right? So actually, we analyze the collaboration patterns on publishing AI papers. As we can see in this chart, there's an increasing share of collective AI papers. That means there's growing AI knowledge demand. So also suggesting that cross-discipline collaborations may be important in the future. Then AI helps us to do research, so it should be combined with deep domain knowledge. But at the same time, science can be seen as a public good. Okay, it's not only AI can help research can generate more research, but also research can be helpful to the society, right? So then the second pillar of my research is to consider the use of science by society. So we published a paper in Science back in a few years ago to consider the science-society interaction, particularly focused on the policy use of science. So in the society, we are hoping for the evidence-based policy. But in the literature, there's traditional theories. For example, the two-community theory in research utilization suggests that there's a disconnect between academia and policymaker. Then we are trying to test this hypothesis using a new large-scale database, just became available a few years ago. It's called Overton. Then we test the hypothesis using COVID-19 as an event study. So we analyzed the COVID-19 policy document. Then we found that there is a co-evolution policy and science. So there is a policy project shift from initially focusing on science and health to the balance of all the three factors: science, economy, and society. The second is we analyze what kind of scientific evidence was picked up by policy. So we found that COVID-19 policy actually pick up recent science. Also, COVID-19 policy pick up high-quality science as proxied by citation impact, also publishing venues. Then the third pillar in my study is I'm thinking about the workforce that contribute to science. Also, the education that train the future of generation of scientists, focusing on human behavior and the social dynamics. So I'm particularly interested in education, focusing on the question like what kind of behavior can improve learning outcomes? How do we track, quantify, also understand these behaviors? So one study I published with co-authors is we use digital card to trace individual behaviors. So we model the regularity of human behavior using shower behaviors, using meal behaviors to quantify if they are regular in their behavior. So then we developed a new index called orderliness. Then we found that that index can predict, at least in part, explain the GPA rankings. So if I put this as a new feature within a machine learning framework, it can augment the predictability of student academic performance. Then the students learning in the school is not just one individual, right? So it's a learning with a group of peers. So I also have a study to consider the roommate peer effect. So it's the clear setting of to isolate peer effect from peer selections. So we collect roommate data. We also trace their academic performance. So we develop a regional method to calculate a simulation measure. It's basically how similar roommate academic performance is. Then this model or this analysis suggests that around like 10% of academic performance is attributed to a peer effect. Okay, so now I'm putting all the studies together is centered around science and society. I'm studying AI for science, also the science-society interactions, and the workforce that contribute to science, also the education that train the future generation of scientists. I'm putting this new excitement about topic, data, and method for social science in a review paper that we published a few years ago in Physics Reports. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to dig into this review paper. It contains 104 pages. So enjoy the read. Thank you so much for your attention.